see you back.
Thank you. All right. We'll call this meeting to order. And I'd like to welcome everyone. It's nice to see everyone's faces. This is an exciting meeting. Everyone is, but this one is particularly exciting because we are also adding new dragons to our Swartz Creek family. And that's always so much fun for us on the board. We didn't go through the process of interviewing folks, but we get to see the wonderful people that are brought forward to us. So with that, I am going to ask Sue if she would do roll call, please.
Hallie Jarvis. Here. Andrea Fick. Absent. Kim Winter. Here. Chuck Melkey.
Present.
Jack Sayer.
Present.
Carrie Germain.
Present.
And Jessica Lenave is absent.
Yes. Mrs. Lenave and Andrea are out of town this week, so they won't be joining us. And before we start, I want to thank Jack Sayer for taking over at the last meeting. Thank you, Jack. You did a great job.
Thank you.
Wonderful. And I was out of town, so he jumped in for me. I really appreciate it. So with that, I would invite all of us to join me in the pledge to the flag. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Okay. Next on our agenda, we have an opportunity for public comment related to items that are listed on our agenda. I do believe, do we have copies out there, Sue, for people? Or okay, so if you don't have an agenda and you're questioning, you can make comments based on agenda items this evening. Does anyone want to step forward for that? All right, not seeing anyone. We do have a second opportunity towards the end of our meeting. Next on the agenda is a consent agenda, and I would entertain a motion for approval.
So moved.
Jack? Support. Holly? Any comments or questions? Hearing none. Sue, can you do roll call, please?
Carrie Germain.
Yes.
Chuck Melkey.
Yes.
Kim Winter.
Yes.
Jack Sayer.
Yes.
Hallie Jarvis.
Yes.
5 yes.
Thank you. Motion passes. Now we're going to move on to Mr. Heatherton for our superintendent report. I know this is leading into the new school year, and there's a lot going on.
We do have a lot going on. Thank you very much. And I'd like to start off our celebration with introducing our new student board representative. We have Reese Warham, who is a senior at Swartz Creek High School. And Reese, when it gets to her report, is going to tell a little bit about herself, as well as some of the amazing things going on with school already. She is currently the class president and is also involved in tennis. So we just want to welcome Reese to the table.
Hello everyone, my name is Reese Warham. I'm an upcoming senior this year, and I am beyond excited to be here and have this honorable position as student rep. I will start off by giving a quick rundown of who I am. So I transferred to Swartz Creek from Grand Blanc in 7th grade, and ever since then I have loved being a part of our Creek community and our school district. When I transferred here, I knew I wanted to learn what happens in our school behind the scenes and how I could help. So from there, I have been elected as the Class of 2012's president for 3 years, as well as NHS secretary this year. Throughout my leadership positions, I have been able to connect with students, staff, and members of our district, which I am forever grateful for. And I cannot wait to use this position to reach out to students and give them a position on this council as well. So that was just a little bit about me, and now I'm going to move on with some of our fall activities and sports coming up. So our varsity football team has a red and white scrimmage this Saturday, as well as their first game on the 24th, which is home, against Liz Southwestern, which is super exciting. Go Buck Boys. Our band members went to camp on July 31st through August 4th and performed on their last day. A lot of band members said that it was the hottest band camp they've ever had, but one of the best, and they cannot wait for this upcoming band season. Girls Sideline Cheer had cheer camp back in July at the Cage, and they're having their first game on the 24th at home as well. For our girls golf, they have tournaments Monday and Tuesday at Crystal Mountain, as well as a match on Friday against Spain. Go Buck Girls. On to the boys soccer, they have their first game against Heritage on the 23rd, as well as the girls swim, who will have their first meet here at home on the 23rd as well. Lastly, cross country will be heading to camp this Thursday, and they have their first invitational on the 29th at Corona. Go Buck guys and have a great time at camp. So back to school is coming up, and students will have their first scheduled pickup the 15th and 16th, and they'll be heading back to the classroom on the 22nd, which I am so excited about. And so again, just to close it all off, I'm so excited to be here, and I can just not wait for the upcoming year.
Thank you, Reese, and we're very excited to have you here. We've had some great student representatives, and I'm sure that you will be equally capable of providing information for us. And I don't know if you've talked to, I don't know, Mr. Heatherton, but our previous representative also gave us a little bit of overview on the elementary schools when it was available. So if you need that information, I'm sure we can connect you. But thank you for being here, and it is a commitment of time, and we're really looking forward to getting to know you. So thank you very much. Now I'll turn it back over to Rod.
Yeah, I think Reese is our 5th student rep now, so time flies. In your packet, you have a letter of understanding from Lewis and Knopf, and that is just procedural as they get ready to do the complete audit on the 2022-23 school year. Our team has been working hard, as Carrie said, to complete staffing. We've been able to come up with some pretty exciting candidates to bring before you. I was at the ISD yesterday with our fellow soups in our first meeting of the year, and there are many, many districts with many, many openings. And we are down to a couple, which we will take care of shortly, either through long-term subs or postings. But we are close to 95 to 97% full after tonight's approval, so that is very exciting. Mr. Kitchen led us on a retreat today. We brought in our coach, who has been working with us for 4 years now. She works with the principals on reflection and feedback. They meet with her as well as Jim and I just to improve their practice. It's been a phenomenal pairing with the 5D model and what it looks like to have high expectations, look at that rubric, and reflect on our practice. So we had a 4-hour session this morning with Julia all around the DISC, leadership, personality, and ways in which we can improve the coaching of our staff. And it was very well received. We did a few more afternoon updates. Michelle Dexter gave the HR processes, especially on support and discipline. And Jamie gave a whole budget update and processes and told a little bit about the upcoming secretary PD that's happening on Monday. Our admin team meets again tomorrow. And we got all sorts of curricular things from adaptive schools, my KIP, more curriculum updates with Sketchies, the special ed update. I get to give some stuff on Hanover and social media and all sorts of things about our new Dragons and instructional coaches retreat, as well as the August 21st PD Day. And we always have an exciting activity at the end of our retreat, and this year Mr. Kitchen has hooked us up into a pickleball tournament at the Cage. So may the best leader win. And speaking of new Dragons, we do have new Dragons coming up. Mr. Kitchen, new Dragons is on the 15th, and we will have about roughly 13 to 15 new certified staff members who will meet with us all day to learn about Swartz Creek, some of our best practices, what we rely on, and to get ready for the new year. So 2 more weeks till students are back. It's getting pretty close and exciting. That's all I have.
Thanks, Rod. Any questions for Rod? Okay. All right. Moving on, you do have in your packet one informational item, and that's some employment of non-certified staff. And then we're going to move on to the board subcommittee reports. I was not at the Academic Achievement Committee last week. I can give the notes, and you can fill in maybe, Kim, I think you were the one that was there as well. It looks like there was a leadership retreat agenda that was reviewed and discussed, and that was what you just talked about, the professional development day that's on the 21st, that's coming up. And I believe we will likely be invited in the morning. Board's usually invited to come in the morning for the introduction.
Yes, we talked about that as well. So there's a kickoff in the cafeteria, which involves breakfast at up until 8 o'clock. Doors open at 7:30. We'll do new staff introductions for the staff during that time, and then we will kick off with an opening in the PAC at 8:30, and then we go into activities in the later morning and afternoon.
Okay, thank you. New Dragons, as was also discussed, is coming up on the 15th, and that's always goes well. We don't attend it as a board, but we always hear great things about it, and I think that was it. Did I miss anything, Kim?
I don't think so.
Okay. Jim
I
or
missed
Rod?
half of the meeting.
Oh, Jim or Rod? Anything that we missed there?
No, that was it. It was
Okay.
a review of the 3 agendas.
Great. Okay, Jack, let's move on to policy then.
Sounds good. Policy Committee was August 1st as well. It was called to order at 4:56 p.m. And our only agenda item was to discuss the June policy updates. As we've gone over previously, Troon, our law group, sends us updates to our policies frequently, and we got our one for June, and it was quite a thick packet, and you have it in front of you today, everything that we got. So Troon sent us our policy updates, starting with 2303, and it went all the way through 5707. The committee was able to finish up going through all of these updates, and we picked the selections that we would like to see moving forward. Most of the updates that they gave to us, we actually already had that language in place, or they were mandatory updates, so we didn't have to do anything with them. We will be bringing these for a first read today for the board, and any questions that any of you might have for them or any concerns, we can always talk about those at the next policy meeting. Today's more of a first read, get to know them, and then bring those concerns and questions to our next committee. And then, of course, if you guys do have any, you can always feel free to message Rod or myself, and we will make sure that those are put on the agenda. And then, like I said, we're going to be doing our first read of those today. Policy Committee adjourned at 5:55 p.m., and our next meeting will be September 12th. Thank you.
Thanks, Jack. Any questions for Jack? All right, let's move on to finance and building and site.
Finance meeting was called to order at 2:03 p.m. on August 1st. In the boardroom, present was Jessica, the chairperson, myself, co-chair, Andrea Fick arrived, R.C. Hunt was there, Jamie Cohen was there, members from the public were Mr. Poposik, John Poposik, and Rod and Jim were there. The meeting started out, and as you can see, the values aren't there. Jessica didn't put them in or did not have them available at the time. So I won't be able to get those approved, but she will, I'm sure, fill us in next month on those. The check registry was reviewed. We talked about the operating millage renewal, discussion wording for operating millage renewal, discussed only change from 10 years is the election date. This is an 18 mil increase roughly. The 18 mil increase is our operating. I thought this was part of our 3.5 building, but I believe it's just our general operating. Yep, for non-exempt individuals. So we're going to vote on that later on. That's 18 mils. That's voted in at every school district, and it's usually renewed, I think 10 years is the max. So it's for 10 years. People that own residence, their taxes won't go up because they're non-exempt if they live in their residence. Correct, Rod?
Yeah, it's non-homestead, but it's
Right.
also not an increase, it's just a renewal. So
Right.
it's the general operating mills that.
At 18.6, I think, 18.6. We had committee comment, and we were asked if there was any new bids for any major services, including food service, and none were given at this time. The meeting transitioned right into our building and operations at 219, and present were the same individuals. Lurvy Construction came in. Lurvy presented and discussed following regarding construction management for Mary Crapo Field and possible future bond work if needed. We had them there for about 45 minutes. They gave some interesting ideas and some help for us in our bond construction. And then we interviewed another bond construction manager, Auk, and they presented and discussed following regarding construction management for Mary Crapo and possible future bond management work also. I'm sorry, they didn't talk about Mary Crapo, it just followed Mary Crapo. They talked about our upcoming bonds for some of our major projects. There was no public comment. We adjourned the meeting at 3:45 PM, and our next meeting will be on September 11th, 2023.
Thanks, Chuck. Any questions for Chuck before he goes on to building insight?
That was building insight.
Oh, sorry.
That's okay.
It was
Yeah,
both.
we combined them
You
both.
blended them. I didn't,
Yeah, we
you
did.
ran it right by me.
We didn't have any big building operations. The biggest thing was Mary Crapo and our big, roofs and parking lots we have to do yet. So we just transitioned into that.
Okay. And there's nothing to present for our approval yet until next
No,
month?
I think it's going to go to the building committee maybe one more time. Me and
Okay.
Rod are going to have some discussion on it, along with Jim and RC and Jessica, and maybe bring a recommendation to the board to at least get Mary Crapo started.
Yeah, we looked at both those companies. Usually with the professional services, we'll just reach out and move forward based on what we heard there. We talked to Lurvy already about the ball field and Auk about the bond. So I'm going to have a definite yes from either one of them, but they have both been reached out to. So.
Thank you. Thanks, Chuck. Appreciate you spearheading all of this, too. I know
problem.
you've been right behind the Mary Crapo Field.
Thank you. Hope it turns out good.
Oh, it'll be beautiful. All right. Anything else before we move on? No? All right. Next, we have our board discussion items, beginning with the first reading of the July 2023 policy updates that Jack just mentioned.
So as Jack said, this is our big pack of the new year. As you know, this is our third year now on Troon. The old policy used to come in sporadically throughout the year, but Troon tries to keep the majority of their updates to their summer update pack. I think that's why a lot of them we already had some of the language changed, because as some changes were made, they continue to put everything in their pack for the upcoming year. As Jack said, 2303 through 5707, it is a very thick pack. I actually didn't think we would get through it. We got through it, so that's why we have it on the agenda as a first read. So you're going to have a couple of weeks to take a look at that, and I'm sure there'll be a few questions. As Jack said, we'd like to get those back to the next policy meeting so we can discuss any changes. We have a change sheet going on recommendations, and that'll come to you at the next board meeting. And then we'll have probably the final read in September, just because we want to get one more policy meeting in before we do a final adoption.
Are there any questions for Rod or Jack?
I have a couple comments, Gary.
Sure, go ahead.
Number one, bidding. I appreciate Rod reaching out and doing this for us. We've had a lot of discussion in building, my subcommittee, about paying people X amount of dollars without some type of approval, and I know our threshold's $28,000. Ben and Rod, when Ben was superintendent, Rod assistant, and Rod's carried on with it, to come up with something that makes me, and I hope the rest of the board, feel comfortable, that doing micro purchases under $10,000, I would like 3 bids on it, which he's, doing and keeping record of it. So we just don't hire somebody every month for $5,000 or $6,000, and they know somebody at the district or something like that. So I think that prevents any tomfoolery, trickery, for lack of better words. My only concern with that is that I agree with all this that Serene put in there and Rod has put in here. Except for the thing if it's multiple micro purchases from the same vendor. I think that is 3300B, 3301A, and then B, subsection 1. So I think that's a good policy for the board. Keep it very transparent for the public so they can see where their money's going, not to just one vendor. And two, though, I just would like, if they could change it, Rod, or at least talk to him about talking about more than multiple micro purchases. So, you know, somebody's friend gets 4 $10,000 a year or $10,000 a month jobs, that's 40 grand. But if you could put it back to committee or whatever you think, or the rest of the board thinks while we're here.
So I can, we got a couple of topics we're going to email Trune on.
That's one of them.
So one of them can
Yep.
be if we are in the micro, so below the 10,000,
That's great. I love that policy.
not to be consecutive.
Just multiple in a
To the
month,
same.
in a 30-day period. So, you know, we have somebody that does a $10,000 or $9,500 micro purchase, and they say, hey, fix this, we need it done right away. And they call the same vendor without keeping it above board for all of our vendors in the Swartz Creek area or Genesee County area. Then they hire that same person maybe 2 or 3 more times in that same month to do jobs. Now, they may be the only person that can do the job, and I have no issue with it as long as we get a couple bids, but I think that needs to be looked at. That's it. And then the next thing on policy and procedure are CPL laws. Help me out with this. I'm reading it, and they're saying that people with CPLs can carry a firearm in the schools.
Correct. If you adopt it, you don't have to adopt that section.
Okay. And their suggestion was that we do what? Do they have a suggestion, or they leave it up to the board?
Those are one of those blue optional, so it's totally up to you whether you allow a CPL to carry or not.
What's your preference? I'm putting you on the spot.
I don't have
It's
a
gonna be board
preference.
discussion.
I just have to carry out.
Yeah. Well, what's the board's preference? Gary, we ask, like, poll everybody, or
Well-
maybe ask it, or?
I believe we already are
What
consistent.
was the subcommittee said yes.
Yeah, so the subcommittee that was there, said that this is fine and we would like to adopt this, and it was unanimous. I believe our current language is consistent with current laws, where if you have a CPL, you're currently, if I'm not mistaken, Rod, correct me if I'm wrong, legally allowed to open carry on school premises. The issue with that being, we will go into lockdown if someone comes onto our premises with a firearm.
So there used to be a loophole in the law. If you had a CPL, but you came onto a school, which is a weapons-free zone, you then had to carry it open.
Right. But if you didn't have a CPL, you couldn't open carry.
Right. So then Clio went, and there was a lawsuit, and Ann Arbor went. And the two had opposite opinions, which then led to a Michigan Supreme Court decision, which basically said it's now up to the schools. If you say you're carrying, you're carrying. If you say you're not, you're not. So now this is, in response to years after that, you now have the option to say, if you have a CPL, you can conceal carry. Now, the difference between what was happening before was because of the loophole, someone who had the CPL was open carrying. This would close that, but allow them to closed carry. So technically, yes, if someone brings or is open carrying, we're going to go into lockdown. But that's not actually the way this one reads. This one just says, if you have a CPL, you can now carry in the school. So it's more of a school board choice at this point. There's no really open carry option anymore. That loophole was closed by the Michigan Supreme Court.
Did they change the state statute on it, though? That's my question, because if you read the state statute, not to get anybody to catch me question, I think that may still be on a state statute, so I don't know if they've corrected it at the state level where the Supreme Court has made that ruling, and then they have not stayed on, I guess it would stand the test of time. The Supreme Court did it, but it would still be in a statute. So are we in trouble if we go against a state statute?
It's not going, either way, because of the Supreme Court ruling, you can either say there are no carrying, or you can say there's concealed carry.
And I know there's two different subject matters here. What happens if it's an employee, do we have it in our employee handbook that they can't carry firearms? Or are we gonna allow our employees to do it? I just want a clarification before we vote on it.
Well, with this policy, the way it reads, says the following persons may possess a weapon on district property. Number 5 simply says a person licensed to carry a concealed weapon. So that would be any person with a CPL.
So you have a couple of options. If you didn't take 5, which was anyone with a CPL, you could then go back to the earlier one and designate people within your district who could, or you could not take any of them and not have any firearms except for the SRO. So you can have the way it is now, which is just the SRO. You can have designated people by choosing, I think it was 3, and you designate those people. Or you can choose 5, which is if you have a CPL, you can conceal carry. So I guess the short answer
Yeah.
is, if we choose 5, it would be anyone, including an employee who has a CPL.
And that was discussed in policy.
I'm not against that, but there's too many loopholes. Where's the gun gonna be kept? Is the kid gonna get the gun, then you have a gun in the school? And I know this meeting's taped, but I've been teaching CPL at the police department for 42 years and in civilian market for 23. And a lot of people that take CPL classes come back to me and they say, yeah, the guy gave me a 2-hour class and gave me a pat on the butt and gave me my certificate. So you have a lot of people out there that are not trained appropriately. The law says it's a 8-hour class minimum. They have to have minimum curriculum, minimum educational requirements. And I know that's not our fault. That's not our problem. But I'm just telling you what's going on out there. And there's complaints been made to the prosecutor's office, the sheriff's office, along with the county clerk who actually signs the CPLs. So what are we going to do to guarantee that they have the right training? I'm just asking before we do that, because I've trained more than anybody else probably in Genesee County, almost 12,000 lessons. And half of those people have been, 6,000 of them, have been to other people's CPL classes. And they all come in and they say the same thing. And I'm not saying who needs to do it, it just has to be a minimum amount of requirements, and they're not doing it. In fact, not to embarrass Mr. Kitchen, but me and him had a long discussion on it. I said, what are the formal manual rules for engagement? Now, he kind of knew him and he kind of didn't. It's been a while since he took his CPL. He says, Chuck, I remember some of them, but I don't. So for me to have employees carrying CPLs in our district, and they've not been maybe vetted a little bit higher than the minimum standard, or at least attain the minimum standard, I'm kind of not for that, although I'm a big, gun advocate. And me and Ben talked a lot about it. I'm just throwing this food out for the board before they make a decision on it. And if we do have somebody that shoots somebody and they shoot them inadvertently because of careless or poor gun handling, although it could happen if they have great gun handling, then do we hold the liabilities of district? Now, we open this up fiduciary, our insurance company will cover it, but I'm just asking questions before we make a decision, because these are things that need to be answered before we move forward. Thank you.
And just to clarify, this is a first read
Yes.
tonight. We're not making any decisions. We're bringing questions back to policy for September's policy meeting.
I would say those are all great questions, Chuck. I would definitely, let's say, check with Troon just to, ensure compliance with the law and the Supreme Court and all that. Would it be possible to invite them actually to be at the next policy committee?
Absolutely.
Okay, let's do that as well.
I'll be there, yeah.
And I want, Chuck, you're mandated now to be there, because we need a gun expert there, so.
My other question is that, has anybody checked with our insurance company to see that they will defend us? God forbid, somebody get hurt with the gun that we brought into the district, and they were not properly trained, or maybe they are properly trained. And then all of a sudden, we're in the news and we're the bad guys when we're here to try to defend our children. I just don't want that type to happen. I'm all for arming our staff that we can, that would want to be armed, having proper protocol where would the gun be kept. I've talked to Ben about this in depth before you came in, Rod, about having certain gun lockers, certain teachers that may want them in the future, additional training, maybe a bonus for them, but not the bare minimum when you're having that amount of group of people in a confined area where shooting's happening. And it's better than nothing if somebody's in here shooting, but I just want to make sure we don't have a oh whoops moment when we're trying to do something right or good. So I guess that answers my question. I'll be at the meeting. Is that okay with you, Rod?
Yeah, I'll reach out to True and make sure that they are available.
What do the other board members have to say about it? I mean, I know we're missing Jessica and Andrea, but
Well, I kind of agree with Chuck a little bit on, how much training is this person going to have? I don't know if somebody should come in here who had a 4-hour CPL class carrying, a gun. And not that I'm opposed to it, but maybe we could attach, if we're going to have employees carrying them, maybe we could attach 1 day of training or something, or several hours, I don't know, some people feel really confident carrying it, some people don't, and I just think maybe we should attach a little bit of, maybe extra training for the ones that do want to carry it. And maybe Chuck could even do it.
we'll discuss that, I guess, committee.
We can discuss a committee, but I would agree with you, and I would agree with you. And those are great concerns you brought forward, so.
Holly, did you have anything? So I have several things, and it's just basically comments. I would have to look at the new policy, how it's written, go back and review the Supreme Court decision, because I remember when that was happening actively here in Swartz Creek and area.
They actually called me to testify on that in Clio as an expert witness, and I kind of bowed out because I'd have pissed off some people, so tell them the truth.
So you mentioned several things, Chuck. The safety investments that we've made in this district are significant, meaningful
Yes.
investments. We've talked about metal detectors, which we don't have, and decided that wasn't in our future right now. But I guess a question that we don't have to answer today is, how do you prevent someone from bringing in a gun through a metal detector if in fact you've told them that they can do it? And, what does that do? Also, I have no idea how old you have to be to have a CPL.
21.
Okay, so that rules out any students, but it doesn't prevent former students. And then,
Or their brother who comes in,
Yeah.
or their sister.
and then
It's just-
why, I guess, there's an obvious purpose it may serve, but I'm not sure what purpose it serves to our district, given all of our investment in safety. And that's all I'm going to say, because we still have.
That's
some discussion.
that's great. No, I like that. But Rod, I'm going to, through you, Madam Chairman, and I don't know if you talked to him about it or not, Rod, or maybe Jim did you reach out to them and ask them how many other districts have adopted this policy? So we're not the test case in Michigan? Do we know that answer?
I don't know the number, but there are districts that have that policy in place.
My suggestion would be, and I'll be at the subcommittee meetings, that we pull some of their policies and procedures. There's no sense in reinventing the wheel, and I would like to see what they've done. And, whenever I wrote policies and procedures at the police department, I wrote many. It's not rocket scientist. I'm not going to reinvent the wheel. I take the best policies from other PDs, scab them together, and then come up with a great policy, if we are going to have one, from, looking at other people's and taking the best of the best. So that would be my only suggestion. Maybe we could get that before this next subcommittee meeting. Thank you. Thanks for your time.
Thank you. I do have a question on the bids question. The scenario where we have an emergency, is that considered in that bid?
You can actually go over even the state threshold.
Okay,
in
I just want to,
emergency.
it hasn't
Yep.
changed.
This basically breaks it down into 3 categories: over the state threshold, between 10,000 and the state threshold, which would be the 3 quotes, and then micro bids, which we're going to check with Truan about language on multiple micros to the same vendor.
I'm not wishing it on you, Rod, but if in fact we had some kind of a flood or we had something.
Yeah, he
where
has
you
that
get
authority. Yeah, he has.
And it has not changed in this particular.
Just when we're at finance committee, sometimes we see 3 or 4 vendors getting these little micro bids, and it's the same people over and over. They just question it sometimes.
And just for clarification, both the micro bid and the bid between 10,000 and 2,800, that's a
28,000.
28,000,
Yeah.
sorry, that's an open process. So you can go back and forth. That is above board to go from one vendor to say, this guy's at 15,000, do you want to go for 13,000? And if that guy says yes, you can go over to the other guy and say, can you do it for 11? That's part of the open bid process. That the closed bid process is where there's no communication between anyone, and it's in a sealed envelope. Closed bid doesn't start until the 28,000 threshold. So you really have a whole lot of different levels of what's happening there.
Okay, any other questions? So everybody go through your packet. I know it's a lot to look through, but it's what we do as a board is adopt the policies and make adjustments as we need to. And we'll look forward to the next policy meeting. I'm sure it's going to be a great conversation. All right. Anything else on that, Rod? Okay, moving on. We have a review of our strategic plan, which we just met. We had a planning workshop last week, which was great.
Yeah, so in your packets, you do have a copy of the strategic plan. It is also on the website. If you just put in the toggle bar strategic plan, it comes up first thing. And I was very appreciative of all the input at our last board workshop. It's been a long time coming. It was a year and a half just to get to the main point of having those 5 goal areas, which are student growth and achievement, financial infrastructure management, equitable and supportive environment, family and community engagement, and talent management and support. From those 5 goal areas, of course, we fleshed out 14 goals, and in each goal, we have multiple activities and measures of success. So we shared with those that were at the board workshop just some of the action items that we were able to accomplish in 22-23, everything from the new We Dragons to the big health and wellness night, to the new Hanover partnership, to our SEL calendar. I think Mrs. Paul is in the crowd now, or Mrs. Wildy, or whatever you want to go by. She has put in a ton of work connecting things like Positivity Project and our other SEL components so that all of our staff, K through 12, have similar topics by week and different resources. It's full of links, things like that. You got Tech 25, which Travis and Mr. Kitchen are starting. So we just had this great tie-in to the strategic plan. What you see there on the right in the handout is just a little bit of a summary after the conversation. Our thought was, well, it was such a great experience having the first year of the strategic plan, seeing what we did accomplish, seeing where they tied in to our big areas. What could we do if maybe we even forward thought and did this activity before the year started? Because this was more of a wrap-up activity. So we kind of repeated that activity as a precursor to this year. And so you can see some of those things that we want to carry forward and some new ideas that were brought up. It was really good, strong discussion. And Mr. Kitchen and I presented this at the PD Day with the principals today. Did you have anything to add on that, Jim?
Yes, I think just looking at it, you can tell it's meatier than last year's. We took your input and some of the quick highlights here that have changed as a result of our board workshop. This year, especially with the approval of a new staff person this year, at the high school, we'll have our first K through 12 STEAM experience. The board had mentioned they would love a job/trades fair. And so we began conversations today about how we can make that happen or highlight what we're doing already through the GISD. Another big piece is encouraging program representation among all of our student groups so that our student council, our leadership, our AP classes, our arts experiences, theater and choir, that those demographics represent our student population. We want to continue, from your suggestion, to explore disproportionality and discipline. Peer tutoring support came up from the board, and we know that we can make this happen through our Peers Who Care program. Another piece to add on, we talked about keeping connections to Wellness in the Creek, which was a huge event for us, keep it as a standalone. And then our third annual Dragon Nation Night could have our programs with our arts and our clubs and our STEM. They can come and be part of that big nation night. You'd also mentioned providing growth opportunities for all of our employee groups. And this really spawned from, we had an internal candidate who did a wonderful job in the AP process, and we thought, man, we have AP Dragons every month. We could extend this and to, 6 or 8 of our current teachers and who would like to be an administrator. And so we're going to include them in AP Dragons, give them invites so that we can begin developing our own for these administrative positions. And so all of these ideas came from that board workshop. And so we're excited about connecting them and continuing with the strategic plan.
And one of the things we were talking about when we went through this strategic plan process was getting the right supports in the building. This will be the first year where we start out where everyone or each individual building has an instructional coach, social worker, homeschool liaison. The high school will now have 2 social workers. So we continue to put both the academic support and the social emotional support, which really ties into our MTS systems, which is where a lot of this good wellness and academic achievement information came from in the first place. So thank you.
Thank you. Any questions for Rod or Jim? Exceptional, gentlemen. It was a great conversation, and it was good to hear all the success this year, and we appreciate you taking our input as a board and really building on the great work that's been done, and to all the teams that were involved in that. All right. Let's move on. We have before us several items on our approval agenda, beginning with the operating millage renewal for the November 7th, 2023 election.
So as it was stated by Chuck in his report, we do have a renewal. This is the 18 mills for the operating millage. It is a renewal. It's not an increase. It happens every 10 years. And just for clarification, as you may know, we get $9,600 per student. The state does not consider giving you the full FTE per student until they've taken back the 18 mills that you should be collecting from your community. So just know that when the state makes the state payment, that's minus the 18 mills, whether you pass that renewal or not. So it is a big part of how we do business. It is for general fund, and it is for operating the school district. And this is just language to get it on the ballot in November 7th, 2023. So for your recommendation, getting the operating millage renewal on the November 7th, 2023 ballot.
And it has to be submitted in August.
Correct.
Yes, okay. With that, go ahead.
Discussion on it?
Well, I'm going to call for a motion.
Yep.
With that, I would entertain a motion for approval.
So moved.
Is that Chuck?
Support.
Jack? All right, any comments or questions? Go ahead.
Okay. Rod, can you give the taxpayers and us, I mean, we kind of know, we have an 18 mil that's renewed every 10 years. I think every district does that in the state almost, correct?
Yes.
Yes. We have the 4.9 special millage that we passed 5 years ago, correct? Or 6 years ago. For
Sinking fund or the bond.
the bond,
3.9.
3.9, my mistake, I thought it was 4.9. And then our sinking funds, how much? Roughly, I mean, not to, rough numbers.
Yeah, it's
1.5?
1 point something, yeah.
1.5. When does the, and the 3.9 is a kill millage, meaning that it, once it's turned out and we paid our bond back, or our loan back, we're done with that. Our 1.5, when does that have to be renewed?
2030.
And how long is that millage good for?
You can go 10 or 20.
On those, okay.
We went 20 last time on that one.
All right, that's what I just want to make sure so we all understand it. And do we have any other millages out there right now?
We do not.
Okay, and we're paying for the PAC out of the 1.5 sinking, right? Or are we doing that out of our general budget yearly? Or is that a better question for Jamie?
No, I know that answer.
Okay.
That comes out of the sinking fund.
Okay. And we have how many more years to pay on that? 1?
It's less than 2.
Okay. I should know that, but I think it's 1 or 2. Okay, thank you.
I think it might be
It-
2.5. It's either 25 or 26.
If a district bucked the system and didn't do the 18 mills, what would the state do to us?
They would not reimburse us the full
9,500?
9,600 per
9,600,
kid, yeah.
okay. All right. Thank you.
You can run a operating millage 3 elections in a row, and that's what most districts do until it passes, because you
Right,
can't really run your district
Right.
without it.
right, without that 18 mil, okay. Thank you.
Thanks, Chuck. Anybody else? All right. With that, I'm going to ask Sue if she'll do roll call. I'll be it resolved that the Swartz Creek Community Schools Board of Education approves the operating millage renewal for the November 7th, 2023 election as presented. Sue, can you do roll call, please?
Chuck Melkey.
Yes.
Jack Sayer.
Yes.
Carrie Germain.
Yes.
Holly Jarvis.
Yes.
Kim Winter.
Yes.
5 yes.
Thank you. Motion passes. All right, moving on, we have several, I think 8, if I counted correctly, employment approvals before us, beginning with the approval of VLC employment.
Yes, this is the exciting part of the meeting. We are rounding out our staffing. I'd like to invite Mrs. Morgan up to the mic, and she can give our VLC employment introductions.
Good evening. It is my distinct pleasure to introduce to you Troy Lemieux, who's being recommended for the English teaching position at the Virtual Learning Center this year. Troy is a recent graduate from the University of Michigan with a bachelor's in education with a secondary certification. He's certified specifically in secondary English and in history. Troy has done intern work and student teaching work at Meads Middle School, Scarlett Middle School, Huron High School, Henry Ford Early College, and Henry Ford Academy. Specific skills that stood out throughout his interview that Troy brings to this position are critical thinking, a strong recognition of the need for student relationships, using restorative practices through conflict resolution, and the use of technology and integrating it in the classroom. So it is my distinct pleasure to introduce to you Troy Lemieux.
Hi, I'm Troy.
Welcome, Troy.
Do you want me to just talk about myself a bit? Or?
Sure.
Give us a couple of snippets
Sure.
about yourself, yeah.
Okay, so yeah, she kind of gave a bit of a rundown there. I went to University of Michigan. I grew up over in Lapeer, that area, and then I switched over to the School of Education. In my junior year, I went through like 7 or 8 different placements, as she discussed, and that eventually took me here. I don't know if you were going to ask this, but I'll kind of address why I chose Swartz Creek. So.
Who told you that was my question?
Don't tell her
Just
who
word on the
told you that.
Everybody.
So when I was looking through different jobs, the idea of a virtual learning center was just something that stuck out to me as something interesting, a model that I was, I wanted to hear more about. And so I researched a bit more, and I looked over the values of the district, and some of those resonated with me. So things like fostering a lifelong interest in learning to overcome different challenges and obstacles for students, and things like developing a strong work ethic in students. Those kind of things just resonated with me. I very much I feel for those things. That I like to think about stuff, learn about stuff, improve myself like that way as well. And then what really solidified it for me is once I went to the actual interviews, the amount of passion that came through to the interviewers just really made me feel like it was going to be a good fit. So.
Well, thank you for answering that question. As a board, I just want to share with you, we do look at our mission and vision and our values, I would say regularly compared to previous boards I've been part of. And it's always very rewarding when we hear other folks come to us, especially when they're being hired, and they're reflecting on what we've actually put out there. And so thank you for sharing that and for feeling that and then bringing that to the students every day.
Yeah, of course.
Thank you. All right, with that, I would entertain a motion for approval.
So moved.
I'm going to
Support.
give that one to Chuck and Jack. right. Any comments or questions? Be it resolved that the Swartz Creek Community Schools Board of Education approves the Virtual Learning Center employment of Troy Lemieux, English teacher at the VLC as presented. Sue, can you do roll call, please?
Kim Winter,
Yes.
Jack Sayer,
Yes.
Carrie Germain,
Yes.
Chuck Melkey.
Yes.
Holly Jarvis.
Yes.
5 yes.
Motion passes. Welcome.
Thank you.
Sorry, my hands are cold. Congratulations.
All right, next we have the approval of PAT employment.
Thank you. I'd like to invite middle school principal Dave Simonson up to the podium to introduce our assistant principal candidate for you tonight.
Good evening. I'm here to present Teresa Anderson. I got to make sure I didn't get her name wrong because I just told her I might mess up her name, so I apologize. Teresa Anderson, for your consideration. So Teresa came to us right from Flushing, but she was part of a group of about 62 applicants for this job. It was a huge pool to search through, a lot of very qualified people on paper, and her resume was stellar. She shined in the first interview, and we did a second round, and she stayed right at the top. She just kind of speaks the same language. Every question we asked, she had very strong answers, comes from experience. She's stepped in quite a bit at the middle school up there as administration, and I know they're very sad to see her go. So we're happy to possibly bring her aboard, and I will let her say a few words about herself here, and Teresa Anderson.
Thank you, Dave. So as Dave mentioned, I have lived in Flushing for 25 years, recently moved to Fenton. But that connection between Flushing and Swartz Creek has seemed to always be sort of strong since I lived there, the athletics, music, all of that. And then I have a lot of friends that live in Swartz Creek. And then also at the beginning of my teaching career, I did a long-term sub in Swartz Creek. And so I've always, as a matter of fact, at the middle school, so I've always had this, I felt like, personal connection to Swartz Creek. And then when I decided to apply for the position, it was very clear that the people here are full of passion, compassion, focused on family. And that just is really a great fit for me. And I was super, super thrilled when I learned that I was going to be a dragon too. So I'm very happy to be here, and I can't wait to meet the kids and all the teachers.
Well, welcome, and I think you answered the question, and we're very happy that you're here as well.
Thank you.
Any
Thank you.
questions before we move on?
I have a couple, Carrie.
Go ahead.
Not that I usually do. Years worked. It's probably just a typographical, but what do we got going on here? Years of service? I'm just,
At Flushing, I was there for 13 years, going on my 13th year, and I was at Owasso for 2 years, and before that was private education, so.
that's all I wanted, right?
Yep.
And we're just pending a criminal background on it. Okay,
All right.
good, that's my question, so moved.
Now,
Sorry, I beat you to the punch. Usually I do in jest.
okay, Chuck, and who's going to second that?
Support.
Jack. All right. Any comments or questions? Be it resolved that the Swartz Creek Community Schools Board of Education approves Teresa Anderson as the assistant principal at Swartz Creek Middle School as presented. And Sue, can you do roll call, please?
Chuck Melkey,
Yes.
Kim Winter,
Yes.
Holly Jarvis,
Yes.
Carrie Germain.
Yes.
Jack Sayer.
Yes.
5 yes.
Motion passes. Welcome. Next, we have several approvals for SCEA employment.
Yes, let's start with Michelle for Cyrene Elementary.
Good evening. I am here to recommend for hire Ms. Kimberly Brobst. I really practiced that. She will go by Miss B as a first grade teacher at Cyrene if you approve her hire. She has over 20 years teaching experience and lots of early childhood and early elementary expertise. She is a great fit for our team. In the interview, her care for children really was shining through in her responses, and her vast knowledge of teaching literacy to young children. So we recommend Mrs. B, Mrs. Brobst, for hire.
I don't know if I'd know who they called if they called Miss Brobst to the office. I've been Miss B forever. So thank you for the opportunity to be here tonight and for the offer of employment. And I've never taught in the district in which I've lived. All my years of experience has been in inner city districts. And when I had the opportunity to teach for Swartz Creek, I'm going to teach my friends and family and neighbors. And that was something that was really exciting to me for that opportunity as well. I do very strongly believe in the early childhood background. I've done daycares, I've done preschools, I've raised 4 children, I have a grandbaby. That early learning experience is so crucial for future development and knowledge and success. So to be able to bring that to Cyrene at first grade is a privilege.
Thank you. And so I guess, did you want to expound on what brings you here to Swartz Creek over and above what you've already shared?
Right, and during the interview, I did connect, like Michelle said, with a lot of the strategies they were using, the data focus to improve instruction, as well as the opportunity for leadership to be a part of that team experience. So that's what makes a successful school and a district. So,
Thank you very much. All right, with that, I'd entertain a motion for approval.
Support.
All right, Chuck and Jack, you guys are winning tonight. All right. Any comments or questions?
Just pending, just a note, pending a what?
Candidate reference check. That's the only thing pending.
Just notation. Thank you.
Okay. All right, be it resolved that the Swartz Creek Community Schools Board of Education approves the SCEA employment of Kimberly Brobst, first grade teacher at Cyrene Elementary School as presented. And Sue, can you do roll call, please?
Jack Sayer,
Yes.
Kim Winter,
Yes.
Carrie Germain,
Yes.
Chuck Melkey.
Yes.
Holly Jarvis.
Yes.
5 yes.
Motion passes. Welcome. All right, now we have another SCEA employment.
Well, let's start off with our high school crew. We'll bring Mr. Clark. Sorry, we'll bring Mr. Clark up.
How many does he have? 3, 4?
Thank you, Mr. Heatherton. Go ahead and start with our business candidate. So this is Tim Crow. He comes to us with 8 years of business experience and 16 years of educational experience. Most recently, he has just returned to the States from coaching baseball over in Europe. So lots of different experiences there. We're just really excited to see him rebuilding our business program. He's shown a lot of excitement in that area, and we're just really excited to be able to bring him on board. Let you talk about yourself.
Hi. Thanks for having me. I'm a Flint native. I'm born and raised in Flint, went to Flint schools, graduated from Flint Southwestern High School, moved out to Phoenix, Arizona back in '98 and lived out there for about 22, 23 years. I worked for 2 Fortune 500 companies, EDS here in Flint when I was working here, and then I worked for Metrics Companies, HSBC Bank in the technical field for 10 years out in Arizona before I got into education. I got into education in 2007, taught at a school called Valley Academy in Arizona from 2007 to 2018 before I took a venture off to Europe to coach baseball. Coached baseball in Austria for 2 years, Germany for 3, and just got back from the Czech Republic for that. Been very involved in athletics in my life as a baseball player, hockey player in high school. I've been, coached high school baseball for 25 years. So I've been a PE teacher, a computer teacher, business teacher, and really look forward to coming to Swartz Creek to answer your question about why Swartz Creek. Been in and out of the Flint area. Coming back to the Flint area, I followed my nephew, who was a athlete at Fenton High School. Had an opportunity to come to Swartz Creek to watch some football, basketball, some things like that. I really like the feel of Swartz Creek, the upgrades that are going on with the facilities around here. And I think the biggest thing that pulled me in was like when I was here, the sense of community I felt with the school district in itself.
Thanks, Tim, and welcome.
Thank you.
All right, with that.
So moved.
Thank you, Chuck. Second?
Support.
With the, just to note that it's pending on criminal background and reference check.
Thank you. All right, any other comments or questions? Hearing none, be it resolved that the Swartz Creek Community Schools Board of Education approves the SCEA employment of Timothy Crow, business teacher at Swartz Creek High School as presented. And Sue, can you do roll call, please?
Carrie Germain,
Yes.
Kim Winter,
Yes.
Holly Jarvis.
Yes.
Jack Sayer,
Yes.
Chuck Melkey.
Yes.
5 yes.
5, motion passes. Welcome. Yes, Mark.
Okay, I have another candidate for you. This time, teaching STEM and working as science classes and as a STEM coordinator. I'd like to call Nathan Elder up. Nathan comes to us with 27 years of educational experience. He is probably the thing that stood out most was that he developed the STEM Explorer program at Delta College, where they went and worked with various high schools in the greater Bay Area, Great Lakes Bay Area, excuse me. He also worked with MDE as a M-STEP assessment writer, so he's got that experience. So we're just really excited to be able to bring him on board to help us build up that STEM program and really take advantage of that beautiful space that the community was so kind to approve for us. So go ahead, Nathan. Thank you.
So happy to be here and honored to be in the presence of some really great candidates who the board is approving tonight. So thank you so much for giving me this opportunity. So a little bit about myself. I'm local, born and raised in Davison. I did bring my wife, Dr. Stephanie Elder, with me tonight, back there in the back. We're both educators, just lifelong educators. Education runs in her family back many generations. But we only spent 4 years out of Michigan. We were in Indiana for college, and then we came right back here. So I spent the majority of my career as a teacher at Carmen Ainsworth High School. So science teacher, teaching just about everything they would throw at me with the DX that I had. Had an opportunity in 2015 to step away from the classroom, wasn't looking at doing that, but the opportunity came, and it was a tremendous opportunity to build the STEM Explorer program at Delta College. Had so many chances to work with teachers all around, hundreds and hundreds of teachers, and it was a great experience and thousands of students in the area of STEM. So that really built this love of STEM, not just science, but STEM within me. And as for a reason why I would want to come to Swartz Creek is I've heard what Swartz Creek has done in recent years with grassroots efforts in building STEM programs in elementary and then building that stronger in middle school And now with the opportunities that are here for a STEM coordinator position, I'm very excited to just take that to the next level. And the facilities are fantastic. Community obviously is in strong support of STEM and what it means to students and their future and their growth. And one thing that really stood out to me from what you said about your strategic plan, the first thing you said in that strategic plan was student growth and development, which I think is the most important thing it should be for any school district. So that's why I'm here. So happy to be here.
Thank you. Thank you so much, and thanks for anticipating that question. And as someone who's had a lifelong love of science, I am so excited to see what you're doing with the STEAM program. I know I have to be patient. Rod knows I have to be patient, but it's been wonderful to see the program evolve, and I can't wait to see what you and Mr. Clark are going to do with that program. And it just keeps getting better and better. So we're very happy that you're here. With that, I will entertain a motion
So moved.
for approval. Thanks, Jack.
Support.
And Chuck. All right. Any other comments or questions? Be it resolved that the Swartz Creek Community Schools Board of Education approves the SCEA employment of Nathan Elder, STEM science teacher at Swartz Creek High School as presented. And Sue, can you do roll call, please?
Holly Jarvis.
Yes.
Jack Sayer.
Yes.
Chuck Melkey.
Yes.
Carrie Germain.
Yes.
Kim Winter.
Yes.
5 yes.
Motion passes. Welcome.
And our last two SCEA positions of the evening are special ed, so I would like to bring up Student Services Director Sean Kovach.
Good evening. The first person I would like to introduce to all of you is Rhonda Leben. She comes to us with, I think on your sheets I wrote 16 years, that should have been 17, so I apologize, of teaching experience. Almost all of that was spent in special education. 13 of those years was at Carmen Ainsworth. Sorry, Rod. And she spent 4 years also in long-term subbing here at Creek. So she has a connection to us already, which is super exciting. So she will be joining us at the high school as a resource room teacher, specifically with a focus in math. And here is Rhonda.
Hi, thank you for having me today and taking this opportunity to offer me the position. I did my undergrad at U of M, and I also have a bachelor's in business administration and accounting. So I started that as my first career. And then I started subbing in Swartz Creek and loved it and wanted to transition during that time. And so it's just like feeling coming home. Creek is my family, it's my community, and the school atmosphere, it just welcomes me. And so I'm really privileged to be able to come here and work with a population that is near and dear to my heart, and to help these students achieve and become the best citizens that they can be. That's what my goal is, and I do that through the math class. And just want to thank you.
Thank you. And we're happy you're here. And I think you answered the question why you're here. It sounds like your love for Swartz Creek is strong and was only strengthened by being a long-term sub here.
Mm-hmm.
And we're so happy that you did it then, and we're glad that you've come back. So
All of her kids were Swartz Creek graduates.
there you go.
Yes, 3 daughters, all Swartz Creek graduates.
All right.
So
With-
moved.
Thank you. And a second?
I'll support it.
Thank you, Jack. Jacques, you are just right on the ball tonight. Not that you never are, but you are always so reliable. All right, any comments or questions? Be it resolved that the Swartz Creek Community Schools Board of Education approves the SCEA employment of Rhonda Leben, special education teacher at Swartz Creek High School as presented. Sue, can you do roll call, please?
Chuck Melkey,
Yes, ma'am.
Holly Jarvis.
Yes.
Jack Sayer,
Yes.
Carrie Germain.
Yes.
Kim Winter.
Yes.
5 yes.
Motion passes. Welcome.
Thank you. Yeah, if they don't come back good, then congratulations.
Yeah.
And last but not least, Mr. Heatherton?
We're still on special ed.
It's still me. Yeah. The next person I'd like to bring up is Erin Boggs. So Erin comes to us with 10 total years of teaching experience. However, 8 of those have been spent in special education. In that role, she has had experience in both resource room and working with our self-contained population. So she will be joining us at the high school also, just like Rhonda, but in our self-contained our self-contained classroom. So here is Erin.
So I'm coming from Kersley. I've currently been doing basically the position that I'll be doing, except at the middle school. So why I chose to come to Swartz Creek was that in the interview we talked a lot about like Special Olympics and transitions, incorporating students with disabilities into the community, and those are all things that I'm passionate about. So to be able to do that at a high school level where the kids are more immediately moving into the community is exciting.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing
Thank
that.
you.
Appreciate it.
Nice to
And Rod has taught us well how incredibly valuable all teachers are, but especially it's difficult to get special education teachers. He had us all on the lookout for anybody that we knew that was special ed, and we're
It's a
very
demanding
happy
profession, for
that you're
sure.
both here. So thank you.
Thank you.
All right, with that, Chuck?
So moved.
All right, Jack?
Support, yes.
All right, I'll let you get in here pretty soon, Kim. All right. Any comments or questions? Be it resolved that the Swartz Creek Community Schools Board of Education approves the SCEA employment of Erin Boggs, special education teacher at Swartz Creek High School as presented. Sue, for the last time this evening?
Kim Winter,
Yes.
Carrie Germain,
Yes.
Jack Sayer,
Yes.
Holly Jarvis,
Yes.
Chuck Melkey,
Yes.
5 yes.
Motion passes. Welcome. All right, I want to congratulate all of our new dragons, and we'll have a chance for all of us to make comments before we close. But once again, thank you on behalf of the district, our staff, but especially our students to choose Swartz Creek and to be here, because we are very excited when we see new faces sitting in front of us. So thank you very much. You could choose a lot of places. We do know that, but we're glad you came here.
One note, Carrie?
Yes.
I know you're going to say it.
No, go ahead.
Thanks to all the interview staff because they've cherry-picked employees from other districts, and it looks like they have great experience, so that should do nothing but enhance us. So
That was a
thank you.
nice way to put it, Chuck.
Yes.
Hand-picked, maybe.
Okay.
But good. All right, let's see, moving on. We do have one more opportunity for public comment. Anyone who'd like to address the board, please step forward to the podium, state your name, and keep your comments to 3 minutes or less.
My name is Beth Pertler. I'm a former employee of this district. I'm a graduate of this district. My whole family is graduates of this district. We have been in this district for 4 generations. Teachers, students, graduates. And I hope what I have to say tonight does not fall on deaf ears. Do I have your attention? Thank you. After the COVID quarantine, the governor of our state invited people that were former employees of school districts to volunteer, to come back and help our students, help our kids that have fallen behind. I was one of those people that took her seriously. I came back and I volunteered here in the district. I volunteered in Siring during the 21 and 22 school year, and in Deke for the 22 and the 23 school year. Why am I here? I'm a staunch school supporter. I championed millage elections back in the day when we couldn't get them passed. I worked on millage elections. I made phone calls. I did surveys. I did all the things a good parent does to provide a good school system. And I'm brokenhearted. I'm brokenhearted that I'm here tonight. I have serious concerns over the lack of safety and support for our staff and students. This past spring, I'm watching increasing violence, even to the point where police officers had to assemble students in the building to do assemblies to enlighten or threaten violators because of criminal activities by minors. And now I am directly affected by what's been happening. While volunteering in classrooms, I have seen threats of assault. Personally, twice. Threats of teachers being assaulted. And I can hardly say the words. Murder. Twice. I'm sorry, I'm emotional. This has affected me personally.
I'll give you 30 seconds if you'd like to wrap up.
Going on.
Well,
Will go on.
we'll have to ask you to leave the podium at some point.
After being repeatedly denied requests for support and safe environment. Repeatedly. These incidents can no longer be swept under the rug. Rod, can you listen, please, and be respectful?
Excuse me, I am talking to the president about what happens when someone doesn't listen to her direction. So I will let her know what's going to happen when someone's not being respectful to us and the direction of the board.
Have I not been respectful? I know I've been emotional. Have I not been respectful?
You said, when she said you have 30 seconds, you said, I will not leave, I will stay here until I'm done.
I'm okay, that's what I said.
Well,
No, we really,
After
ma'am,
being repeatedly denied requests for support and a safe environment, these incidents can no longer be swept under the rug.
Carrie, Madam
Ma'am.
President,
Yes.
You cannot look the other way and
Yeah,
pretend it
Ma'am.
didn't happen
Okay.
just
We-
because
we
it
didn't-
is
we
didn't-
wrong. It's wrong. My granddaughter is a friend of Justin Schiff.
ma'am,
Was a friend of
we're going to ask you to, ma'am,
Justin, that was first killed at Oxford.
ma'am, we're going to have to ask you to either sit down or we're going to have to ask you to leave.
Can I respectfully offer 3 suggestions? I don't understand why we are not allowed paras to help our
Ma'am, we're going to have to ask you, in all fairness to anyone else who would like to address the board, we'd like,
have police
ma'am,
officers in their buildings.
ma'am,
let her,
Please, I'm asking the Board of Education to do everything you can to keep our teachers safe and our students safe. Everything you can, that's all I'm asking.
thank you.
And I respectfully thank
Thank you. Anyone else like to address the board? Thank you. Same thing, name please, and keep your comments to 3 minutes or less. Thank you.
With whom? No, I mean, did you have a meeting with me where I nodded my head? You have a half a day with your entire building, so we can have Ryan talk about safety, absolutely. But we have been doing restorative and trauma. Absolutely. You invited me into the conversation, so I responded.
We have several staff that are on medication to help with conditions.
30 seconds.
We have several staff that are on medication to help with conditions that are agitated by stress and anxiety. I have a diagnosis of 2 different conditions that require me to take up to 6 medications that are reversed by stress and anxiety. I have made 2 transfer requests to help improve with this, but only be denied by Michelle Dexter. I don't understand with all the trauma training that we've learned this past year, how should this not be encouraged for any of our staff members? Will you please schedule time for Jeremy and myself to discuss this further? Thank you for your complete concern and look forward to working together in the future.
Thank you.
Can I just ask a question? What grade do you teach? What grade do you teach? Through the whole history or just currently? Just currently? 5th grade. Okay, thank you.
How long have you worked here, ma'am?
I have worked over 20 years.
Okay, thank you.
I was hired in January.
Thank you.
All right, anyone else like to address the board? Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. One last call. All right. Okay, moving on. We have an opportunity for the board to comment about this evening's meeting or whatever else. Chuck, how many times you made a motion, maybe?
Yeah.
And
Jessica
you're
was
being
here to
rewarded
help
for
me.
that. Anyway, go ahead.
Okay, you want me to go first?
Sure.
Okay, good. To the two people that just spoke, you can email board members. It's not, if it's a personnel matter, sometimes we are not able to get involved, but if you have concerns, something more than you would like to add over your 3 minutes, you're more than welcome to email myself or one of the other board members. We will always respond within, a few days. I don't check my email every day, and try to assist or help, but there's some things we can't get involved in, personnel matters. But we will always be thanks.
That's your
Is that
time.
my 3 minutes?
That's your time.
Sure is.
Yeah, well, you know what I'm
No,
going to
it's
say. I'll keep my comments to myself. And to the first lady, Mrs., I don't want to pronounce your name wrong, but I've been here about 5.5 years, and I apologize if I've never seen you here before. I've only missed one meeting maybe in 5.5 years, and you seem very concerned, but I've never heard it before, and I don't think I received an email from you, ma'am. So I don't know, coming up here and, saying, are we paying attention, which I was paying attention to you and taking notes. I take it very seriously. I think it's unfair to the board if you've not reached out to us before, and I know you're emotional, you were respectful, but to help us out, we have to know things, and you can't just come and dump on us and then expect an answer. And, we do have rules, and it is a 3-minute rule. Sometimes Carrie lets them go a little longer, and I appreciate that, and the same to you, ma'am. One other thing I thank the board for all their help. Hopefully we'll get Mary Crapel started soon. Rod, I have an offbeat question for you. And you may not be able to answer this, don't want to put you on the spot, but how much do we charge per hour to use the cage for the basketball thing that I talked about the other day? So if I'm a coach and I get 10 teams to come in and they want to use our facilities, is there a set rate that Andrea is charging?
Adrian has a community ed, I think it's on the website.
Is it?
All
Okay.
the different charges. Basketball's been a little different because we've had multiple groups over 10, 12 years that have run leagues, and I think they usually based their contract off on day use, number of days times X number of dollars equals total contract.
Okay.
But I can
So-
pull up an old contract, or we can pull up.
I would like this referred to the finance, which I'm on and building, that we're recovering enough money for our facilities, for the wear and tear on it.
Yeah, we just increased our community ed
Okay.
fees, so if you want to look at that chart, we can do that.
Yeah, I do, because I know we have about $1 million in parking lot coming up. And that was my concern about renting out the cage before, was that people from outside our community were using it, utilizing the facility, which is fine, that's what we want for kids, but mostly for our kids. And then when they tear up our facility, we're left with the legacy costs or the long-term costs.
Yeah, I think the two leagues are run by our current boys coach and our current girls coach.
Okay.
I mean, I can tell you how much I pay.
Yeah, help me out.
As youth football for the stadium.
Well, I want to know about the cage, but tell me about the use.
I'm just,
Yeah,
I mean,
tell
'cause
me.
that's a facility as well.
Yeah, tell me.
I mean, $250 per game date
Mm-hmm.
and $500 for the season for concession maintenance.
And how much do you charge the kids? The profit, does that go back into your league?
Yeah,
Okay.
and we have gate to help us cover, because we have to pay all of our own refs and everything
Right.
too. But I'm just saying, my cost for rental to the school is $250 per game date. So every time I want to go in there, $250.
What about for practice?
I don't practice there.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Yeah, I have a couple things. I just wonder if there's, if we could look at possibly getting some aides for our kindergarten teachers. I know that they have high numbers in their classroom, and they have no aides, none whatsoever after September 11th. They might have a little help in there, but I know that they're not going to have any aides in there. And I think that if we I think if we maybe invest in this a little bit earlier, maybe there won't be so many behavior problems as kids get, go up into the higher grades, like 3rd and 4th and 5th. I know the teachers, there's kids in there trying to learn, there's kids in there trying to disrupt, and if there was an aide in there, that aide could take those possibly disruptive kids out into the hallway, and the teacher is not going, she can't do it. She's got a classroom of, 25 kids in there, up to 29 kids in there. So I was just wondering if we could possibly look at that, getting them some help in there. I just think it's an investment in our teachers, which would therefore be an investment in our students. So I was wondering if maybe we could discuss that at the policy meeting or one of the committee meetings. My second thing is just kind of a question. When does the school, maybe this is a question for Mr. Heatherton, does the school have to apply for special permission to start school before Labor Day? When did we start doing that?
So the county has applied for those permissions for all of us in the county. It changed, I don't know, 5 years ago or so, where we could start going before Labor Day again. We always used to go before Labor Day, and then the law was you couldn't start until after Labor Day. But technically, most people start before now, based on the waiver. The county fills it out for all 21 districts.
Well, I guess my question is, the students go to school for 2 days, a half day and 2 days, and then they're out for 4 days. Couldn't we make up those 2 days somewhere else and have them start after Labor Day? It's just a question. I've been getting a lot of,
Yeah, they could start whenever. You have to have 180 minimum days of school. And of course, as we've talked about multiple times, we created a very flexible calendar to have breaks because, as we know, during COVID, with all the trauma and stress that teachers and students were feeling, it was important to create some natural breaks. So we added a break in October. We added a break in May, which of course didn't get used last year because construction pushed us back a week. But you can do whatever you want with the calendar. It's a negotiated piece between the board and the SCEA. But just know that whenever you move and change dates, you have to put them someplace else.
And Rod, isn't there something that from the state that says we have to have a 4-day weekend as well, built in somewhere?
Yeah, there's definitely, you cannot take any of the days around the holiday. They have to have the 4-day weekend. And then there was some talk at one point that if you were to go before that, not on a Friday, but I'm not sure if that's actually law or not, but we've followed that.
Okay, I want to piggyback on that, Carrie, if you don't mind. If I would like, on Kim's question, just some parents ask me because, they have only a short amount of time for vacation. It seems like they got to come back before Labor Day. Some people take vacation during Labor Day or up to Labor Day. So that's my only question to piggyback on, Kim. Did we do it? We can change it, but some of it's negotiated with the staff, isn't it, on their days off?
The whole calendar is negotiated.
So did we negotiate that in, the Labor Day, to start before Labor Day so they could have the extra weekend off during school year? From what I recall, I did.
But the calendar that is on place was adopted by the board, which was previously negotiated.
Right.
between
When do we do that? How many times do we do that? Every contract season, or do we do it every year? Can we do it, or does it have to be every 3 years during contract
You can
negotiations?
You can do it by contract, or you can do it within the contract. We technically, past practice over the last 20 years, have gone every 2 years. Unless there wasn't a contract, then we would go year by year. We try to have 2 years out at a time. So
Yeah.
the next
To
2
set it up
years,
fair, yeah.
So the next 2 years are set to be looked at probably in November for.
Of this year?
Yeah, for
Okay.
the upcoming 2 years.
So that'll help Kim out, and some of the parents had asked me questions about that, I think. Thank you.
Anything? You're busy with football. Okay, good. All right.
I have one other.
Okay, I'm sorry. Kim.
Can we have a section put into our agenda for new business? Because sometimes, I feel like maybe some of this stuff could have been brought up as new business.
Are you saying prior to like closing committee comments?
Yes, prior to that.
So instead of what we're doing right now?
If you have agenda items, you can get those to me, Sue, or Carrie at any time, and we can get them in the agenda.
Well, okay, that'll probably work.
And we can always add them into if it's a board discussion
Okay.
you'd like to bring, we can always put those in there.
Carrie, I hate to do this to you. Let me piggyback a question on that. When does our agenda come out? Because I know it comes out normally.
It comes out the same day.
Yeah, and some people
It's actually available
Well, I guess
prior to.
on
Friday.
Tuesday or
On
Monday.
the Google Drive, yeah.
On Monday.
It's on the drive usually by Friday before.
Okay.
And then it's posted.
On what day?
It's posted that day on
Okay.
Friday before the board
Good.
meeting, the Wednesday.
I think that'll help you out, Kim. That's why I was saying that, because if you see something on the agenda that you would like, add it on.
Okay,
I mean, you have that right to add on with, Carrie's permission, and Rod's to add on agenda items.
that works.
Good?
Good.
Okay. Jack, anything? Okay,
You got a new haircut. You got caught underneath the lawnmower.
several here.
I did.
All right, I want to welcome Reese again. We look forward to working with you. And to all of you who were brought on board as new Dragons tonight, thank you for being here. Troy, Teresa, Kimberly, Tim, is it Tim or Timothy? Tim, Nathan, Rhonda, and Aaron, I hope I didn't miss anyone. And to all the administrators who represented them and all the folks who went through the interview process. And to our public who commented tonight, thank you for being here. I don't mean to come across rudely. We have policy that says what we do during our public comment, and we try to enforce it evenly and try to be reasonable at the same time. But we are always grateful for your comments, and we appreciate the passion that comes with it quite often. So thank you for that. And with that, I don't have anything else, and I would entertain.
Motion to close the
Motion. Chuck?
Yes.
I'll support it.
Jack? All right, it's not quite unanimous, but all in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed? We are adjourned.